So we've been talking about what are two different ways that a man can have a woman get in touch with her true beauty and bring that out of her. And one way you said, Owen, was like for a man to be more beautiful himself. And there's another way, which is how to see the woman in that light. I want to talk for a moment about a man, like the beauty of men. And you've said beautiful women are attracted to only one thing in men, and that is beauty. What is the beauty in a man? And you've said it's a lifelong devotion to a personal passion, a passion larger than him, larger than her, larger than the whole wide world, a passion that radiates from his pores until the day he dies. Now, bearing in mind these stories of not going on the fishing boat and my friends in Brazil that didn't want to see the jungle, a lot of people would say, like, Zan, totally makes sense, the passion thing, but your passion is women. Therefore, how can your passion for women be bigger than
I don't see
wanting
a
to be with,
discrepancy.
be with a woman?
Because the concept is devoted to a passion, devoted to like who casts aside all the normal things of society and materialism and stuff like that, and says, I want to follow this passion, this dream, whatever it is. And one passion is as valid as the other one, as the next one, My passion just happens to be women. I'm not saying that everybody needs to have that passion, but I've been very passionate about I like women. And I sort of constructed my life around it.
Yeah.
So, I think they're saying the same thing.
Has it never been a bit of a turn off when you say to a woman, or when a woman notices from you that your passion is women?
Never.
No. At the same time, you're not making women the adventure.
Exactly. That's a great point. It's like, it's not like women are it's women are not the adventure. The adventure is this glorious journey of discovery. The journey is the passion, and my journey is into the journey into understanding my role in relationship to the essence of the feminine spirit. So that's been my passion, trying to understand the masculine in me and the feminine in relation to that. This is what I've been trying to understand all these years. As I'm fascinated, I love the energy of women. So, but it isn't, that sounds like a contradiction, doesn't it? And yet women are not the adventure. The adventure is the journey itself. The adventure is building that boat.
I think with you that there is something bigger. You say your main passion in life is women, which is true, but it is this idea of beauty, and it's for you, it's fashion, it's art, it's history, it's culture, it's architecture,
beauty,
and women. And actually, even though I think you say elsewhere, but women are, for you, the greatest expression of beauty, your passion is still in some ways larger than that. It's not necessarily a philosophical view of life, it's a spirit of life, which is that kind of adventure, that's a spirit. And that's your passion. It's the spirit of life, of travel and being unattached and going with the beauty of the moment. That's, I think, what's
That's well said. That's well said, Rich, because it isn't, my passion is not that woman and that woman.
Yeah.
That group of women over there.
Yeah.
It is what it represents.
Yeah.
What it represents as far as beauty and the reclamation of beauty. Yeah, that's a great way of saying it. I really like that. Did that answer your question? Did Rich answer your question? That hard question you tossed at me?
Well, I go, wait for number two. These weeks. Another phrase I like is you say men who love women inhabit an entirely different sphere, a realm outside the usual mass of men. They are the secret, the unknown, the mystical ones.
Yeah.
I love the word mystical. Would you say something about that first of all?
That concept. We said earlier, that there are men who will listen to what we're saying here and not get it and say, why do I need any of that? I just want to get laid and, like, big whoop. It's because they don't see what these guys see. They don't see these men. They are unknown. They're unknown by the mass of men. They go, what do you need any of that for? But they operate unseen on a different plane because they're seekers of beauty. and women recognize it in them, and men just go, "Oh, he's just another dude." They don't get it, right? So the mystical ones, those are the ones. Those are the ones who are devoted to the mystery of life. They're trying to find the bigger. I mean, the whole book drifts into that whole way, which is like, where's the spiritual side of things? Where's your spiritual quest? Which is a larger question than most people are asking. How do I get a raise for my job? And how do I fundamentally survive? How do I get a cool job so I can have a cool chick on my arm and a cool car? Which is low level questions.
Yeah.
Right? And the mystical ones are the ones that are saying, and it doesn't mean they're sitting in an ashram somewhere and chanting. I mean that mystical that way. They have a mystical way of being that is magnetic to women. This is what we talk about later in the book with masculine edge, and this concept of danger and the concept of scoundrel energy and dark forest energy and our lower energy that we talk about, and that's the mystical side of men. The hero's journey side of them.
Yeah.
Makes sense?
There's a beautiful quote that's over there on the other table by a woman called Evelyn Underhill. And she talks about the difference between the philosopher and the mystic, and that the philosopher sits around in the world of ideas and debates and argues, whereas the mystic starts from that same love of beauty and truth, but actually looks and sees and goes into the world and speaks from, I think it's the unnerving first-hand experience.
Oh wow.
And that's the step up from the philosopher.
That's right. That's great. That's well said.
Wish I had the whole quote.
Good, yeah.
Just got more prepared, Jordan.
Write it down. You had something, right?
Yeah, I have another question. Your view of life, how you express yourself, you're very artistic, you're a poet, you're kind of a romantic, a Renaissance man in your philosophy, which is, I think a few of us here tap into a bit of that energy. But what about the men that are watching this that may be more scientifically minded or business minded, that kind of they see something in the way you express yourself in the way of beauty, but that's not how they are. Is this message not for them? Is this a side of them that they need to learn, or?
That's a good question. In other words, they may not be able to even interpret the words, is what you're saying, right? Like because the words that are in this book and are trying to capture a feel of a rhythm. Like that's why every sentence has to have a bit of music in it. You know what I mean? That's why the sentences are so over the top and purple prose.
Yeah.
You know, for better or worse. That's a good question. Like, could it be constructed in a different way that they would get an understanding of it? And perhaps, yeah. Perhaps a scientific guy would like it more broke down algorithmically, or just even more structurally, logically, a folder and a sub theme and a sub theme under that. You can follow along the hierarchy. That's a great question, but I don't know if I could do it like that.
It was more a question not how the book's written, but for those type of men. So for you show your appreciation of beauty through words. It's very natural because you're artistic, it's your expression. But for someone that's maybe the stereotypical quarterback or kind of masculine sports guy that goes, I don't really understand these poetic terms, but they still believe in beauty. They may not manifest it this way, but kind of a message to them, how do they bring themselves out of there?
That's a great question.
I would imagine that we're answering each other's
questions. Help me out.
Yeah.
I would imagine, don't think a man has to completely move on and change from being more scientific in his mindset, but I think there has to be a sliver or a portion of this person's way of seeing the world that has to move beyond the rational scientific worldview. Because the feminine, masculine is objective and organized and direct and clear. The feminine is what is mysterious, what is wine, what is the darker, the more also the light, but the more difficult to define. So I think there has to be some part of the man that has to learn a bit of this language, which is subjective and unclear and mysterious and has no clear endpoint.
Yeah,
and
that's great.
and I think it's a massive source of confusion for the rational mind.
Right.
But that's the
Yeah, the rational mind goes
It's a
automatically
paradox.
to evolutionary biology and the reptilian mind, and and they describe things from that point of view,
Yeah.
as opposed to the flow of like
Yeah.
the. I keep going back to the same words. I need new words. I'm saying energy and rhythm and stuff, but
Yeah.
it is that, you know. It's like, because that means nothing to people, to scientific. What does that mean, flow? What does that mean, rhythm of women? I don't get it. There's no rhythm. I can see that women are biologically trained or evolved to do this, or created to do this. God created them to be this way, or they evolved to be this way, and so that's the way it is. And so they explain it with chemistry and physiology and sociology and all these types of things. And we're talking on a completely different abstract plane, which is the aesthetic plane.
Yeah.
We're talking on
That's
aesthetics. This is all aesthetics we're talking about, which very few people talk about today in science and or mathematics or philosophy. That's completely tossed away, where to the Greeks, for instance, it was number one.
Yeah.
That informed all of their sciences and their philosophies.
I think the great message for your business-minded man or your scientist friend is that I think it's important to be able to see the world in a bit of these terms.
Yeah.
But that man doesn't have to go through an identity transplant.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
women, in my
Right.
experience, still love men who are really in the masculine mindset or in masculine pursuits.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that makes. It's got to still be authentic to them.
It's got to be their
They become
truth.
this.
Yeah. They don't need to become
got-
poets and mystics and pirates and go off to sea and leave home and hearth.
Yeah.
Like I did. But they sure have to have the spirit of it. I mean, it says later in the book that women still want the spirit of the wild stallion. And where's that? Even the accountant that she married and has 3 kids and they live in the suburbs, she still wants to feel that energy. And so it's calling forth to that, to get out of the mediocrity we talked about earlier, which is the real enemy. Mediocrity is the enemy, which is the routine, mediocrity, going through the motions, raising a kid, watching the TV, going to work, which kills everything.
I think that's it. I think the way I was looking at, people might say, "Oh, it's a certain type of personality of the man. It's the artistic side." It's not about the personality of the man or the type of the man. It's about the spirit of the man.
Exactly.
It seems that's what you're saying more.
Yeah.
And you can be a businessman, a scientist, whatever.
matter.
This is a book about the spirit of the man. Not you have to be a certain type of person.
Exactly right.
That's it.
That's great.
This is my second challenging question to you. Don't know if this is a contradiction. You say the man, this kind of man who is outside the usual mass of men, is a secret, unknown, mystical one. And then you say in a page or so, but this guy, when a woman sees this man, she knows instantly what he's all about.
Oh, because he's not invisible and mystical to the women. They recognize that immediately. It's to the men in that last phrase. Men don't get him. Men don't understand him. Women can see him coming a mile away and say, whoa. That's why there's and women can't explain it. There's some men in this world that the women can't stop thinking about. He's not the tallest guy, he's not in shape, he doesn't get a lot of money. He can be none of these great qualities, but they can't stop thinking about him. There's something about him that the women say, there's something about his spirit, which we talked about. That really women, they might not even be, they might even think, well, wow, I don't want anything to do with this guy, but I can't stop thinking about him. It's because he has some kind of a spirit, and it's the men who don't recognize that. So the women do. The women know. Women know it, especially old women. You show me a 60 or 70-year-old woman, she knows me, she can finish my sentences. She says, yeah, I get it, I understand.
Yeah.
The young women go, I'm not so sure about this, and the guys go, huh? I don't get it. Right? It makes no sense to me. But the older women, they recognize the meanings. They've seen some things, and they know. And in fact, I would say that older women are my greatest advocates. They're on my side, for sure. You show me a 7-year-old woman, and I start talking to her, she says, yeah, I get it. For sure. Strange, but true.
I feel that a lot. There's a big difference between, say, arbitrarily a woman kind of 22 plus and younger. If you're kind of authentic and real with someone kind of more my age, they get it. If someone younger is like, huh? What's he talking about?
Well, they're still trying to sort out their,
Yeah.
you know, their hormones and what they want to do with their career, and so they're thinking different things. And
Yeah.
They haven't had a lot of life experience.
Yeah.
They haven't had a lot of interactions, or just life experience. But boy, I tell you, an older woman, they, like, I'm not kidding, like a 70-year-old woman, and I tell her the kind of stuff that we're talking about, she instantly knows.
Yeah.
She's smiling, nodding, If I do a talk, and I've talked to every age group, I've talked to women's groups around the world, just women, no men allowed, and there's like 50 or 60 or 100 women in the audience, and it's the old women going, yeah. The 60-year-olds going, They're smiling, yeah, it's true. And the young women going,
What? Yeah.
But the older ones, they go, yeah. Yeah. So, did that answer your question? It's
Yes.
the men that are kind of like confounded.
Yeah. I wanna say something again about this. A man who loves women is loved by women, and the way that the man is, as you're spelling out with your book, if a man shines his light in a certain way and sees the beauty song of women, he can call that forth.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the word treasure hunter quite a lot, and it sounds like a bit of a joke, but at the same time, I think it's completely true.
Yeah, it's
You're
what it
looking
is.
for those rare nuggets of treasure in a woman and drawing those out.
Yeah.
I want to tell you one of my first experiences of you
Oh.
when we first met in Brazil. It's like 3.5 years ago now.
That was Brazil we met. Not,
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I'll start off with a paragraph. You say, women recognize when they are in the presence of a man who loves women, who chooses to celebrate them, who chooses to see them in a certain light. They willingly step into that light, for he is a man who loves women, that rarest of men, and women always, always responds to a man who loves women. So what I noticed straight away with you is that there must be a way of being that has women become more beautiful in your presence.
Ah.
And I remember being outside the front of the hostel where we were all staying. You were with us as
You were
well
there
in
too,
Brazil. And there's a whole gang of us sat around kind of in a circle of 10 or so people, and Christopher's playing the guitar and he's there. And
Oh, I remember that night.
I am in the hammock with the girl that you're seeing in Brazil. And we're talking a little bit, and as I'm in the hammock and she's in the hammock and we're looking at each other, I'm thinking, so Zan is this international world number one on the internet seducer guy, and this is his girlfriend, and I'm with his girlfriend right now. And actually, I think in my time in Brazil, I've been with a woman who's better looking than her. Really thought that,
Yeah.
and we were still speaking, and that was the kind of thing that was going on in my mind. And at one point, you turn up on the scene, and you're like, "Come over here, sweetie," you know, and you're like excited and want her to come, and she gets out of the hammock where I was, runs over to where you were, and gets in the hammock alongside you.
Yeah.
And instantly, she became 3 times more beautiful in your presence.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, I was just talking with that woman. She didn't seem so beautiful to me, but now she's with Zan, and it's like, as soon as she's left me, she's more pretty, and I want her
To
back.
you?
Yeah,
Ooh.
to me. It's as if her entire complexion changed in your presence.
Wow.
Yeah.
I remember this.
Yeah.
I
Wow.
remember this, and you didn't even say a word to her.
Wow.
There was a sub-communication thing, and we'll get to that later. But
That's powerful. I understand exactly what you're saying. Yeah. I understand exactly what you're saying.
And I was mesmerized.
I don't remember
thinking-
this,
No,
but I do understand what you're saying. Wow.
I was thinking, wow, in just a second, this guy, it's not that he's not seeing the most beautiful of women, but he's seen a woman who I thought was average, but made her 3 times more beautiful just by his presence. Like, that's some serious alchemy.
Wow.
You saw that too?
I did. I remember it vaguely, but I do remember it.
Wow.
And I remember you being in the hammock, and I remember you being in a hammock, and they were maybe 5-10 meters apart. And I remember you winking at her or something. You were doing something, and she got out of the hammock, and came over to you and you started kissing it. And I don't remember him talking to her or saying anything there.
That's interesting. That's the first time I met you.
Yeah.
Wow. So what is it that brings out that energy in her, makes her
You know what?
more beautiful?
That's a good question. You know what I think is like just. I think we talk about it a bit later, but it's kind of that boyish charm of just like, all's right with the world, because you're here. Women can feel that,
Wow.
you know. In this moment, under this Brazilian sky, with these cool guys, and Christopher's playing a guitar. Come on, what else can you ask for?
Yeah.
Right? And you're here in the hammock. To me, especially me, this kid from Canada, from northern Canada, who had no opportunities, no money, and no education, and here I am sitting in Brazil with you guys and this girl.
It's
To
like
me,
it's like you remembered your gratitude moment to moment, and we're feeling that.
I
Meanwhile, I was in the hammock, like scrutinizing and evaluating,
Yeah.
thinking this woman, it's not as good looking as another one.
Yeah.
It's like that
Wow.
was transmitted
That's
from
energy.
me, and you transmitted something
Yeah.
else.
wow.
So I'm curious now because in our culture we have this kind of vibe of you have to treat a woman mean and this kind of play hard to get that thing. Whereas you seem to do the exact opposite of that.
Yeah.
But it's different. It's not coming from a needy, I want you kind of energy. It's coming to lifting her spirit and making her more beautiful energy.
Yeah, my energy, the kind of like expression I'm saying is, are you my girl? Because you sure look like my girl. To me, this looks like this is the way it's supposed to be. Do you feel that too? And if you don't, can you feel it now? Now? How about now? Do you feel it now? Because I sure feel it.
It's interesting, you just said that you didn't think that she was all that pretty. And there's a passage here that says, when a man believes that all women are beautiful, they will believe it too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I got a little bit. That's why we hang out and have this conversation.
Yeah.
Changes some things in a man's
That's so
mind.
true.
They become beautiful again in his presence, for a woman enthralled or delighted or in love is always beautiful.
Wow.
That's for sure, guys.
So if you love her, she feels that.
If she feels seen, and she feels noticed, and she feels desired, women radiate. It radiates inside like the stars. Stars shine from within, and women do too. But it's usually blocked
Yeah.
because no one's there to receive it.
Yeah.
It's like a radio signal is flying overhead right now, but we don't detect it because we don't have a receiver on. But they are for sure still radio waves going right through this conversation. I don't know how they actually go. I'm not a scientist, but it's bouncing off his head. But if we had a receiver and we turned it on here, all those myriad of radio signals would be evident. Right? It's the same kind of thing. It's like, but there's a receiver there. It manifests itself.
Love that, because the more I explore men and women and how it works, the more it turns into a metaphysical thing. It's energy, and that's all we've got to describe it, which is infuriating for your scientists.
Which is ridiculous, yeah.
But it is. It's like there's a transmitter in you and a receiver in her, and she'll pick it up, and maybe even it won't be conscious, but she'll notice that.
But
there's a different kind.
It is for sure. And we talk about energy transfer, and we can go into, I don't know anything about chakras and stuff. I have no clue. But for sure, there's a transformation of her in the energy of someone who sees her in a certain light. There's a shining that happens. And it's radiant. You saw a radiant girl. I don't remember it. I don't even remember the moment. But I get it. I understand it. Strange, right?
So here's where I'm going to catch you out.
Yeah.
You say, a man who loves women never needs to dominate a room by being loud or boisterous or ridiculously animated. He stands out, yes, but he doesn't stick out. The greatest forces in nature are the quiet ones. And then I think of you. And Hans and Kelly, the two guys that I think are closest to you these years.
Yeah.
That's true.
I think you're anything but quiet ones.
Yes, but I didn't say they're always quiet. I said they don't need to be. They don't need to be show-offs and boisterous and loud and jumping around, and because they are communicating on a different level. I just happen to be loud and boisterous because I'm crazy. And Kelly's crazy and Hans is crazy, right?
Yeah.
But but there's also guys who have a kind of a smoldering energy that still get that radiate that kind of energy to women. Women are like, who's that guy? What is his essence?
Who's the quietest guy you've ever seen that's been incredible with women? And I think I ask these questions because, again, I know there's so many guys out there that have incredible potential and would be beautiful lovers of women, but don't want them to undergo like a personality transplant.
Yeah, they don't
and add
need
on all the
to
jokes and
become.
storytelling.
They don't need to be like. I happen to be a storyteller, and I embellish stories because it's fun. You know, I'm like everyone's caught up in it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's just my nature. Trying to think of some like. I don't know. On the moment I can't think, but for sure it doesn't like it just happens to be the way that I am. I'm a little bit more animated, as you guys know, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know. I can't answer your question. But let me think about it, and I will answer it in the future.
Yeah.
In fact, I will answer it in the future because I think there's a space in the book where it's coming up again. This concept.
Because you say in the next part, he's treats all women the same, kissing their hands and winking all around, and now it's like now he's doing behaviors that stick out.
Yeah, interesting. That's you caught me out.
Got you for the moment.
Yeah.
And right at the end of that, you say, and he makes sure, just to put the nail in the coffin, and he makes sure that every other woman sees the special attention he's lavishing on her. So that sounds to me that it's no longer unassuming. There's a slight bit of gamesmanship.
No. We talk about conspiracy. There's a great. This is the sense of scoundrel energy and fun. If you check out a woman like this, and your buddies see, you're just a dude.
Yeah.
But if you check out a woman like this, and she catches you, and all the other women see it, now you're playful and fun. So this isn't like some kind of a technique or a game. It's just the essence of teasing, scoundrel, fun, which is fun for you, fun for her. So it's the essence of play, which I think is absolutely necessary.
I think this leads on to my next point. Some people watching this may think we're talking about beauty and these deep, poetic, artistic things.
Yeah.
We're just kind of admirers, very philosophical, very innocent.
Yeah.
I like what you say here.
Lying around on pillows.
Lying around on
Smoky
pillows.
haze.
It says, a man who loves women has no need or desire to take anything from a woman, and yet would happily share everything with her. His respect for her is supreme, and yet, if she spends any time in his presence at all, he will bend her over without hesitation.
Of course.
And that's the sweet energy and the sexual energy as well. It's not this and this sweet, innocent person. There's both with you.
I tell you, and it's misconstrued.
Yes.
For years, for 10 years, people say, well, Zan's all this 17th or 18th century opium-laden poet who's like, weeping about My Fair Lady.
Yeah.
And nothing could be further from the truth, as you guys all know.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, if it doesn't have that essence of fun and mischief, mischief is the most beautiful thing you can have. Mischief. It's not fun for her, it's not fun for you. Then it becomes this lovey-dovey love story, with Fabio on the cover, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's, but it has to have that winking energy and kissing the hand energy is I think, a physical expression of the spirit again.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you have to be the guy that's doing that. But there's the spirit of that mischief, fun, winking energy. Hello, girls. We're all in this conspiracy together, and I see you over there, and I see you, and I see your friend. That kind of like fun, caught up in the moment energy, I guess you could say. Which comes up later in the book when it talks about, humor and all these other aspects. Am I answering the question? But it's great to dig this deep because Andy put me on the spot because I want to know too.
Yeah.
I want to understand it too.
I'm sorry to go back to the girl in Brazil, but you were talking about Christopher playing the guitar and the Brazilian night sky and all these great guys sitting around. And I remember it being that experience as well. and it's you see this beautiful woman who you love all women, and your love of life as well at the same time, and you're including her in that love of life.
Yeah. That's your observation? Or
That's
question?
it's an observation, but it's also it's something to reflect on. I never used to do that, and it's a choice.
Yeah,
it's a
that's
choice.
true. Yeah, because I've seen some dark things in my life.
Right,
You know?
and I was going to go into this later, but I'll go through it now. Your life growing up was rough, to say the least, and yet you chose to look at it as a beautiful childhood.
That's true. Yeah,
And
I look back and I think, wow, what a childhood I had.
I'd love to know how you stay connected to that.
Yeah, I think it's like you said, it's choice. You choose a perspective and say, you know what, I can choose to be a victim, and I had all this trouble and this dysfunction, or I can choose to say, hey, you know what, look what I received out of that. Look what has been part of my becoming. You know. So I think it's just a choice of perspective, as everything is. Perspective, the girl never liked me because I'm too whatever. It's perspective, right? Yeah, it comes up again in the essay where I talk about the Amsterdam interview girl. And it is very much is what it is. It's like, and still to this day, I walk around in Bucharest and I'm thinking, how is this possible? How is this possible for me to be here? How enchanting is this? And how wonderful this is for me to be in this moment here with this girl. There's nothing greater in the world that I could possibly imagine having than to be standing on the world stage with this beautiful girl. It makes me happy, and because I feel it, she feels caught up in that too. So I think that's the essence of what we're talking about here.
And that's
Okay?